Good afternoon, everybody. Sakumara Namaskar. This is International Master and Field Senior Trainer Sekhar Sahu welcomes you on behalf of Sports Society of Gujarat State Chess Session to this intermediate training session. I will continue with the topic about initiative in the middle game, opening and end game. I have shown you some positions on middle game. Today, this session I will focus on almost all example and initiative at early stage in the opening itself. So first I present Karyakin because that game was selected in the morning. I could not show Karyakin versus my MBL, MLB or MBL so from Grandmaster from France. So it's a Grunfeld defense. He goes for the sharp exchange variation. Now white is at crossroad. White can choose as in the favorite of Kasparov, knight f3, rook b1 with initiative on the king's front. Or white can choose the position of bishop c4 and ne2. Karpovian. So Karpov always liked bc4 ne2 and Kasparov always preferred knight f3 and rook b1. So Karyakin goes in Karpov way, knight e2, b3, extra support. Now bishop g4, f3, knight a5 tried several times and the position is good for white. For example, the variation bishop g4, bishop g3. Now knight a5. But now he has a check and this variation is supposed to be better for white. Nevertheless, a small intermediary move can have a different evolution. After the move, castle, you can play pawn into pawn, pawn into pawn, opening more lines. Now knight a5. Okay, this is not our subject here. I will not discuss opening. Let me go. The game went on. e6. This variation is little better for white. Plus equal. Pawn into. Now further pawn capture will give counter. Now knight d4, stopping. Tempo. Everything was tested and tried. Queen c6 is plus equal. Series of force moves will come. Now queen b8 is practically forced. The main line now. However, you must see what happens if queen b6. Hello Birabhadra. Now bishop d5 and now this white is a pawn up. So queen exchange is not advisable. This is supposed to be good for white. For example, you can play bd2 and white stands better. Pair of bishops and also weaknesses in the black camp. White stands better. Plus equal. So to avoid this sort of ending, black has lifeless game and he has to wait for white to move and plan. So not get into this. Wait queen to b8. Queen b8. Now it is not advisable to play bf4. Looks interesting because you are pinning one into and it should be okay. There is no profitable discover attack on the queen. There is nothing you can do. So bf4 gets nothing. So after this move queen b8, correct. Safe. Necessary. This is better way. D4 nothing, queen is attacked. All series of force moves. You cannot go passively, so gaining a tempo. Despite the, I mean, exchange of minor pieces, so white has an edge now. The the bishop is estranged. Not h3, not h3, because bishop into h3 will come followed by queen g3 check. So, knight rb8 was probably a safer alternative. Now bishop h3 will not work. The e3 bishop is protected. After taking check, queen g2 should be winning. So bishop must move. Okay, the position obviously white is better because the fractured pawn structure of black. The black king's castle position is not safe, and the bishop on h5 also not very well placed. Want to create further weakness? Now, if you will play rook e8, this is advantage for white. Tempo plus minus. So he plays here. This is a dubious move. It was better to play. It was better to play rook f. Though it is passive, it is solid. This would have given chance for black to survive. For example, knight, and he will try to keep the balance. The c3 pawn is under pressure. The knight is in pin. Should be okay. Though it is passive, but black can sustain. But he played the dubious f4. No, 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 no. Yeah, the dubious move. Now immediate bishop d8 has compensation. Suppose you play immediate bishop d8. Now rook into, yes, compensation. The d file cannot be challenged easily, and even the queen exchange is also not dangerous. So instead of playing immediate bishop, he plays fast queen to f2. Now rook e8 is not working. If rook e8, white is little better. Knight and knight d5. However, in the game he played the bad move f3. It should be winning now. White has strong initiative. Plus minus. Cannot give that bishop, black square bishop. White is playing with four pieces, and back rank is also not safe. Everything is looking very bad. So Karyakin played very nice. I think the whole game is preparation, home preparation nowadays. Winning. So this is the game I wanted to show in the morning. Now I'll go to lot of games and opening initiative. I mean, a player collapses in opening stage itself. Even grandmasters make this kind of error. For example, let me show the game. Bronstein Albert. The game started very quietly. Okay, now a4. The point is that the overextended pawn, now pawn b4, he will have a base at c4 if he plays. Now there is a base at c4. You can't play d5. Pawn into rook check is coming. Good move. Bishop e7 is ruled out. And f6 is bad. Okay. Now black decided because you cannot develop the bishop easily. So he wanted to make pian check. He made pian check. Now here onwards you see how Grandmaster Bronstein punished black. Black is also a very strong player. Later became a grandmaster very soon. Cannot develop the bishop to g7. And e5 will create a hole. E5 will create a hole on d5. After e5, the bishop retreat and to e3 and his or even g5, very strong position. So play knight d4. Forced. You can't play a6. You have to stop a6. How should how should you play now the position? Player should have feeling for initiative. Grab the initiative now. Feel for initiative. Now the bishop is very good. The diagonal. The key, the resource for grabbing initiative. This is the I would appreciate if you all anybody participates. Forced cannot exchange. After pawn takes knight take, he will capturing and then there is a problem on 8. And there is no time for rook b8. Only move. Now once again into collapse position collapsed. You have to take it. No choice. Discover attack and take resigns because now rook is lost and after taking also he is getting mated. Getting mated after queen check, he only square, check, only move. Oh, finish. The queen is lost and getting over. So you can see a player should not keep king in a long time. And there is a lot of these are all not forcing lines. And here there is a lot of moves. Here you could have played here pawn a5, then you can wait at 6. But never mind, white has got better. So some more games. Initiative, I mean snatching the initiative at the early stage of the game. In opening itself. Finished. Now, Lagal what had unpleasant experience second Grandmaster Ashik. I think this is Azmai Paraspar. Don't say Azmai. Now you can play H3. Knight into pawn is not possible. White can play H3, B2 or BD3 and castle BC2 and then D. So various moves, but this does not promise an opening advantage. The main idea of Queen C2 that in this variations, if Knight C6, Bishop G4 comes. So he wants to make sure that Knight is not in pin and immediate threat is to capture the center. Okay. Now he is giving a threat. Player should notice that threat. For example, now e5 will not be so good. So now e5 is a threat. Pawn e5, if you knight into e5, knight into knight, and then bishop into c5. On pawn e5, bishop into is not working. Another knight will replace. Forced. You cannot surrender. After that, it will be very easy for white. Double bishop for no compensation. White will have pair bishop advantage. D7, bad news. Now, Knight c4 is not losing, you're losing a pawn for nothing. So he plays e5 plus minus. Two dominating central pawns. Black is so much grand, and also there is a threat. Well, now knight into pawn, idea bishop into rook fails. Okay, next move I'll play rook d1, rook c1. So it takes it, but then rook. Now, even though black has won a pawn, the position has deteriorated. There are holes on the king's castle position, and the d7 bishop is pinned very uncomfortable. Completely choking him. Black cannot play h6, and f6 also is very weak. And the protected pawn on b5 is cramping him so much. The simple threat rook h4 and bishop into g7, and game is over. So there is no choice but he has to make a room for the king. Okay, it is only now two, three moves, it is he will finish. So there is no answer. The knight is attacked and this is finished. Because if knight into a4, knight c8 is very passive, will not come out. After knight into a4, take not queen check but knight e5. The game is over for all practical purpose. Now knight into a4, otherwise there is hopeless. So take. No, not a hasty queen check but knight e5. Now there is no answer to queen e7, and the knight has entered with a tempo. The bishop is doubly attacked, and queen e7 is a threat. Nothing can stop. Over. And queen b4 is met with knight into oh, rook only move. Now you can take the rook, but that will be a struggle because after taking the rook, he will have some chance because the queen side pawn. Then he has got some counter play. Oh, save the pawn. Not taking the rook, not necessarily. Very nicely played by Grandmaster Brownstein. There is no square in the second rank. The rook must leave. It will leading to checkmate. Rook check and then queen check and so on. So excellent move. The initiate we grab when queen c5. We have to keep focusing in the game entire. You are given, you are playing 4 hour game or 5 hour game. Now you get 2 hours, opponent get 2 hours. During his time also you should calculate about general moves, strategical maneuvering moves, and weaknesses, how you can overpower. And in your time, you should make concrete calculation. This is a standard procedure. So, moving forward, the Marathi bind is not just, it was better to play the regular line. Okay, this line I had seen, I think, Smyslav Spassky, bishop into knight, then black squares are very bad. Suppose black gives bishop into knight, then he will have very weak squares on dark squares. A strategic error Now bishop c5, on bishop c5, white can play bishop f4. More development and better position. Knight attack. Now knight into pawn. There is a problem after bishop f4. The no development and king position is also very bad. Push him back. Now the simple threat is knight b5. Now white is simply threatening knight b5, the terrific position. So king has to move. There is no way he can control that. He is simply paralyzed, cannot do. Not too easy. Now if you try to develop pawn b6, bishop e4 is killing. Pawn is b6, bishop e4, it is over. The rook will get trapped. Nothing is moving around. Now, bishop here, the idea is not to take the pawn. Basically, he is completely putting pressure. Only move. Otherwise, you lose the pawn. You can't do that. A prophylactic move. So there is no entry for the knight. Don't know whatever the rook a6 also has no future, but he is hoping to make a pawn break. Check. Now double the rook on the g5. So next move rook d3, rook g5, rook double. R to rook to d3 and rook d3 finish. Catastrophe in opening. The rook a6 is doing nothing. Bishop c8 is worse than a pawn. With the idea, rook into e6. Now next. Terrible. Time. The question is now, there are many ways to win. But this is the fastest way. Rook into knight, f5, f6, f7, f8. Nothing he can do. The pawn is moving forward. Nothing. Everything is paralyzed. No answer. An excellent game. Demonstration of opening initiative. Now, did I show? I showed this thing already. So, no, this I have not shown. This is different. F3. Now, so a standard exchange sacrifice which comes in exchange areas. Now, bishop, if we take the bishop d3 is, so he comes here. Bishop to f7 or bishop d7, returning the exchange also is bad for black. This is necessary because if the rook moves to rook e8 is also not working and knight d4 will come. The queen is running out of decent squares. Idea BB4. The queen is overloaded to the defense. Next BB4, queen C7, rook C1 will win the game. So, queen C7 forced. Series of force moves. Now the point is, black lost material. Pawn into bishop is not working. If d into e6, rook into d3. But he supports the bishop with a threat, two threats. Queen b1. Suddenly, white is having two threats. The threat, first threat is d5 into e6. Second threat is bishop into a5. He cannot meet both the threats. Lost. Lost. He can meet, but it is just bad. Queen d7 is possible, but it will be miserable. So then plant the bishop there. Now simple bishop into knight and bishop d7. Too much. You have to you have to give the bishop, rook into bishop, and then fall piece up. Otherwise, it is hopeless. So just you have to clear the back rank. Then it is penetration from either way. Just clear the back. Now the queen can penetrate to c7. Queen can go to g5, h6, anything. Forced and pawn e7, e8. Fill to fill. Yeah, I did not read the Veerabhadra Singh said e5. Yes. Why not 21 fe4? Black move in the Karyakin culture. I'll see that. I'll see that. No question. Karyakin 21. Good move. What is this? 21 you was telling. Why not fe4? fe4. Oh yeah. Yes, considered it's a bad. fe4. Queen e4. Queen e4. The rook b7 and bishop both are, and f5 does not work. I just now could open because just now I made again rebooted the charts. I can see it now. Hello, Pallav Sah. So if e4 is bad, Veerabhadra, because queen e4, then rook b7 is threat, and if you play f5, then queen e6 check is crushing. Queen e6 check, and then bishop f4 is coming, h3 is coming. Finish. Next, I will go to Bronstein versus Checo. He's avoiding. Valery Checo was well prepared player. He was world junior champion, and he was an expert of Spanish Open. So, and one can understand Bronstein avoiding the main theory because black is so much well versed in that line. So, bring d3, avoiding. Okay. Now the point is the pawn structure is ruined. triple pawns on the C line, and the bishop is very much restricted. In such situation, the knight can find a place. So there are three advantages white is having. Number one, pawn structure of black is terrible. Number two, the c5 pawn is an easy target. Number three, black has a bad. I mean, the bishop is not bad, but it lacks correct square. No good mobility. So the position should be over. But white has to be careful about his backward d3 pawn. No question of break. Look here. So he is desperate to play f5 to open the position. So excellent move. Now there is no way. This that the pieces are so uncoordinated, and he there is next to nil chance that he will use the open b5. Maximum he can double the rooks, but he has got this rook one is enough. Regrouping the knight. Now the knight is doing nothing. Knight will do a better job at c3. Ng1, Ne2, and c3. Go away. So if you go back, you cannot enter. Okay. Now giving a threat. The player should be vigilant. The position is winning. The threat is queen into c3. So queen c3 is a threat. Okay, I can meet the threat, but this is easiest way. The b2 pawn is guarded three times. There is no room. No room. Now rook into pawn is failing. Now suppose you play rook takes pawn with the hope of queen check. Rook into a3, queen into d4. Intermediary move. Rook into a3, intermediary queen into. So the initiative of black on the white's castle position is nothing, and now white will start oppressing. The position is lost. Now if rook retreats, simply knight into queen, knight enters. Knight c1 so he comes. Rook into b2 is still losing. Queen into d4. He gets a pawn, but the tragedy is the rook is unable to come. So simple queen exchange. Now the Adagul Sitaram, the rook is cut out. It's like in the lift, the power cut. The rook is unable to return. So simply not allowing king to d6. Now rook he has to stay in the other rook in b line. Finally he has to surrender meekly. Rook to a to b3. Sooner or later he has to do this only move. Because rook cannot move. Piece down. Finally surrender. The point is you can take the rook exchange, but it is better to keep the rook because he's so much choked. Even if you move, he has to make three moves to move. First he comes here. Still he cannot move. Then he has to move the rook b8. Then only he can get the freedom. So is it worth three moves to release the rook? During these three moves, white will build up a strong initiative. So he doesn't need. I think the center pawns are now there and knight is still, I mean, immune. Lost. Hopelessness. So the game was lost as early as in the opening after triple pawns, but handling the position very systematically. Hello, Ramakrishna is back again here. Roman this is just so King's Indian attack. There are knight d2 is good move, queen e2 good move. This is bad. Now, the correct move here is to play knight e7. Then bishop g2, he can play g6. Now castle, bishop g7. Okay. Now rook e1, now b6. Castle, b6, rook e1, b6. Now you can play c3. Idea want to play e5 and d4. With the idea want to play e5 and d4. But then he can play h5. h6. Sorry, not h5. h6. h6. Exclamation. The idea now e5 is bad because of g2. Black has initiative. And d4 is not working. g4. So he will give a wing pawn to take a center pawn. In g6 is coming now. That is why it is important that he should have played here knight e7 and g6 bg7. b6, c3, h6. No. h6. As in the game, all this has been played between Lubozovic and Petrosian. White Lumova Lubozovic, black Petrosian, and white is Lubozovic, black is Kasparov. So this is good. And Petrosian made a mistake that he played bishop a6 directly after castle. So Kasparov improved it. Now in Petrosian game, after castle he had brought the bishop directly. That was bad. But after a5, now the pawn is free and rook gets a7. Kasparov won very comfortably, nicely. Alright, let us see this game. Now in the game he played the bad move knight f6. Now bg2, the point. Very uncomfortable. You can't allow pawn into pawn. Anchoring the bishop. Now bishop is anchored. Plus minus. The position cheerless for black. Look at the knight on b6 is very poorly placed. There is a tension on d5 pawn. And white has a very comfortable attacking plan. The pressure on d4 pawn. Take. Lost. Now the pawn is lost. So he pushed desperately. Queen d4. Now additional threat. Bishop h6 is additional threat. Knight is threatened. So queen is 7. But then he lost other material. Now f6 means okay, he can play pawn into f6. That is losing exchange and pawn also. So this is resign. So only one careless move. So a player should be very careful in opening stage. This is bad. But NG7 is okay. As in the game, Lubozovic, Kasparov, then there are so many grandmasters have adopted this system. G6, BG7, castle, B6, A5, rook. So this is okay. Hello, Kamakshi Bastu. The next. I will go directly to the point where here you see in the game, we will not skip the opening discussion, go to the game back. The position white is better. Of course, white is better. Before capturing the pawn is bad, so it goes back. Okay. Background clear. White is ready for the final result. So in C3, he can do, but after NC3, the position is anyway good for white. He is having compensation, but he played in the game rook into. Little did he realize. Now, after he must calculate. The point is, white has a very strong initiative on the king side. What he could have done here is knight on c3, attacking white queen as well as ready to give the queen for to rook and bishop. This is bad. The only move was knight c3. After knight c3, rook into queen, pawn into, and knight check. White is to be better. Though black can fight up. Now rook a4, rook a5, then rook. The position is, of course, white is still better because it's superior bishop. Now the king will slowly come. The only plan for white will be king e2, king d1, and try to bring the king quickly to the support of the pawn. Or rook c2, then release the bishop, then king to b1, and then he can activate. White will have a better game, no doubt about it. Bring the king to d1 and move the bishop to e3 or the 4 and bring the king to free the rook. But it is a long game and it is a long fight. But instead of that, instead of playing nc3, he made queen to d5. Then the king side finished. 1, 2, 3, rook check, take, rook check, forced, check, 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 checkmate, leading to mate. Knight, then rook into and rook into queen, over. So the whole point is the initiative becomes very powerful. What is the question? Ashoka Albert. Lev Albert was an expert of Benko Gambit. He has mastered Alekhine defense. He had mastered Alekhine defense, Benko Gambit. So, to avoid his preparation, though Vasuko is a regular e4 player, he avoided playing e4 and played position. Vasuko is a practical player, on the spot director. Ultimately, will turn out to be a King's Indian defense. Reverse column. Now, white exploits the long white diagonal. H1 to A8, the diagonal, the bishop is very active. To exploit it, now you have to join your other forces. There is another weakness. Not only the diagonal is powerful, and there is another target, the F7 point. So Vashiko, with played with great imagination. The threat is Queen F3. What else? A knight on D5 is doubly attacked. So supports the intermediary. Intermediary. The point is that after a check, king is pushed to H8, coming the range of the knight. Now queen into knight is obligatory. Only queen takes. But then check. Now the knight should enter F7. So queen into and winning the game easily. So here the whole point is the initiative can be launched at the opening stage itself. In opening stage itself. What is that? Hello. Good afternoon, sir. Okay. Yes. Can you ask questions in the critical positions? Okay, hereafter I will keep on asking questions. Critical moments. So it will help you like an exercise. It is the line has got a bad reputation. Okay. Bishop f4 is there, but b e3 is better, I think. B e3 is I feel instead of bishop f4, b e3 is a more flexible line. All right. This is interesting idea. How should white play now? How should white play? This is a totally artificial move. I would say this is not the correct move order. I mean, the black should try to bring the knight quickly. Black, instead of the queen to a4, instead of this move, black should bring develop the knight quickly to d7. Perhaps that is the best chance. But now, how to handle this position? Ramakrishna says knight d4, h5. You cannot allow pawn h6. There will be hole on the g7 and f6. Now, castling queenside is not possible, and he wants to attack. The rook is ideally placed on the h5. So, simply king. Okay. So, stage 1 over. Now, white launches a strong initiative. How should white play? This is pretty easy. Ramakrishna, not at that moment. Now, this is cutting off the queen. Now, bb5 is a threat. You have to return. There is nothing. Now, bishop h6 is a threat. You must move the king now. Wonderful piece position attacking. How should white play now? Please focus and tell me. This is a very easy answer. I hope you solve it quickly. Virabhadra says knight f5. So don't you think knight into knight and bishop d4 is crushing? Knight f5 is a good move. It's a good move, but he can survive. But what about knight into knight and bishop d4? It's crushing. There is no answer. Strange. There is no answer because now he has to defend with the rook e6. No other move. And after rook e6, show me the finish. Knight f5 is good, but this is stronger move. This is a stronger move. Knight into pawn into bishop d4, threat queen h6. So only move. How to finish the game? Many times the player come almost and they miss last one or two moves. Not bf5. I would say he will survive. On bf5, he will survive. I am not happy with bf5. Yes, rook e3. Rook e1. Better is rook e3. Rook e3. Queen f4 and rook e3. Finish. Queen f4 and rook e3. I played rook e3 directly. Go white block the queen. Queen f4 and now rook e3. You cannot play rook into rook, mate. And the simple plan is double the rook. If white tries to play, white can now directly play queen into. Immediate threat is queen h6 and rook into d8, completely paralyzing, finishing. The other move is to double the rook. Lost. Of course, here bf5 also should win the game, but a longer fight will take place. He will he will give some resistance. For example, bf5, he can play c5 and bishop into he can play queen into on rook e1, pawn into d4. Can give some resistance, but this is finished. Okay, hello Rath. Yeah, Nepe Manichi versus Borovi. This has come to fashion nowadays. Now in Olympiad, Siro played here bishop c4, be7, g4. I showed that line maybe about a week back. I showed this line. Now bishop c4, bishop c4, be7. Now bishop into pawn does not work. Bishop takes, queen, queen, and queen. Not to play. Alekhine, maybe more than 100 years back. Beat some guy. So to avoid this, what Silo did after b7, he played g4. G4. Now knight into g4, rook g1 is coming, and the threat is now bishop into knight check and knight, and there is no attack. The g7 is coming. This show Silo won very comfortably here. But in this game, he plays simple b8. White is having a fantastic position. So much space. Move like G4, I would say, now, if there are two wrestlers are ready or two boxers are ready to fight, before entering the ring, they have, they have started fighting. Before entering the ring, wrestling, they have started already a fight. G4. But could not BD4 be better? Continuation with F6. Yeah, you see, in a good position, there are a lot of variation. BF5, as you suggested, was also winning. So, this is in a given position, there are a lot of good moves. The whole point is, black position had already collapsed. Excellent move, G4. Contribution to theory. Queen D2 and castle is crossing. Now into the weaknesses. Rook attack. Okay, he can do castle, but that is terrible after f6. So, knight on f6. If you play b8, the d pawn will come into trouble. If you play b8, simply short castle, long castle, or rook d1. Showing a finish. Now, he cannot play. Now the threat is simply now b pawn c5 is ruled out. After pawn c5, you can even play queen into knight, followed by bishop check crossing. Black is like two pieces down. Resign. Because after taking, bishop check will pick up the free rook. Castle is bad. Anything is bad. Castle lost a piece immediately, but there is no respect in other moves. Knight into and one piece gone. Pawn into means bishop check and queen into free rook. Black is a grandmaster. This player is a very interesting guy. Grandmaster is a very interesting character in the game. Now here the standard move you can do BB7, you can do B5, bishop C5, early D4. Now D6 is more to the point, and knight into D4 is not so good. But this is the best choice. I would say this is the best choice. In this case, you can play bishop check and knight check, and after queen into knight. Black is little better. Bishop pair. Black is little better. The D5 square is covered. Now BB7 comes. Analysis by Bagiro. But instead of playing knight D4, he played the inferior knight into E4. After knight D4, on into. Now the threat is BF7 check. BF7 check is a threat. So castle is only move and over. A terrible position. Terrible initiative. Very fast. The initiative of white is overwhelming. What to do? The pawn is pinned. I think this is now catastrophe already. Now E5 point is attacked. So this is the solution. Would you believe the game is finished in 3-4 moves? 3-4 moves. I should have asked question. I should have asked a question. How to finish the game in 3 moves? Finish 1, 2, 3. You cannot take with the D pawn, the only move. But then bishop into knight, only move. Check, only move. Queen takes, only move. Bishop. Idea mate or rook. Mate threat and rook threat. Terrific finish. But let me tell you, the whole variation is suspicious. It is early D4 line. Now the correct move for black was to play knight into pawn. After bishop check, knight check, queen takes c5. I think black position is preferable. I would prefer to have black pieces here. Okay. Now, the main many times players play in the move order. Basically, there are some players that do not like certain openings. Like they want to play d4, then they are not happy to play against Nasdaq or Pelican system. So they are waiting. Now what to do? If he plays d3, d6, he will play g3 and the game is closed character. But in my opinion, the correct way to play is d6 and prepare knight f6, enter one of the main lines. But bad move. This is bad. Creating a hole on d5. Yet another bad move. Forced to push. You cannot support and taking is bad to push. Now he will have find a place in c4 square for his bishop. Okay, white is better and white plays b3. Idea bb2. Good move. A feel for initiative. In the position, suppose you play normal move like castle, then white cannot count on an advantage. After you play castle, black can just play pawn a5 or maybe bishop b7 or queen c7. There is not much. There is not much. So this really threatens. Now the pawn is pinned. He's threatening h5 with a opening h5 and lot of attacking chances. Okay, h5 is also bad. Here pawn h5, it will turn out bad. In this case, what white will do, he will play pawn to d3 and regroup the bishop c1 to exploit the dark square. Idea bishop c1. All white need is to bring the queen to the h5 for the finish. But if you play immediate queen g4, he will survive. If white will play immediate queen g4, he will play bishop takes bishop, and on queen coming to h5, he can play pawn f6 and survive. Excellent move. There is not giving time. Now pawn into pawn, queen h5 directly. The only move. Now not take intermediary, not taking the bishop right directly. So force the move rook. You have to move rook only to save mate, only move. But now bishop. The point is after he takes queen h7, queen is take. Now whether you move queen, whether you take queen h7 check and queen is take. So as early as move 15, 8, 17, it is all over. Oh, it is beautiful moves. This is I like this guy. I like this guy. This Nail Sana. Beautiful finish. One more game of the same player. A6 is a dubious. Standard move is to play NC6. Even though white is better, it is better to play NC6. So, dubious move. The only thing that BB5 is not coming. Normally, in this kind of structure, Taras, now white will play pawn into pawn, then BB5 check, and then queen e2 or castle. So he stops the check. But the pawn, another pawn move in the opening. All pawn moves cannot justify. Castle. The only move now. Knight e7 will be terribly passive. Only move. Okay, d4 was bad anyway. Okay. How should white play now? Grabbing the initiative as early as within few moves, opening itself is finishing. In c5. Now kingside castle is ruled out for black, and now if you play queenside also is lost. Knight c5, the queen will run out of good squares, and the threat on a6, threat on e6. So you have to stop n5. There is no other good move, only threat. Cannot castle long now. The a6 pawn is hanging. Try to do take, and it's over. Can somebody show me the finish? Finishing only two moves. Veerabhadra says bf5. Correct answer. Now you have to stop. Re-attack this move, but then piece is lost. Strange that he loses a piece. Takes and takes and pawn into rook into knight. He cannot take either. Now neither can he play pawn into the queen is, and neither can he take pawn into bishop. Neither can he take the rook, nor he can take the bishop. Just a piece down. Of course, the whole variation. If you check the encyclopedia, the old encyclopedia here, this is bad. Then simply BE2. Encyclopedia considers, I am not sure the maybe in 1970s, this BE2 or 80s, BE2. White is definitely better. He can do any capture. Oh, how many pawn moves? Plus minus. White is ready to castle, bring the rook. This is good. And what it did a6 and this is also good. The d4 pawn weakness and a tempo. Now, if you will play bishop d6, now this is not great because the pressure on the diagonal. This is pressure on the diagonal. I will neutralize bishop d3 and now knight c6, castle, and now knight e7, so bishop to g5. Planning to play bishop here and then easy neutralize. Black is in a bad shape. Once the dark square bishop is exchanged, the positionally back. Once the bishop is exchanged. Okay. Anyway, it is advantage. So he played bb6, but then he plays plus. Dark square bishop exchange is clearly better for white. Bishop. I like the move. This great move. Yeah, bf5 was correct, Biervatra, in that position. bg5. Now there are mainly two plans black has got. He can play e6, b7 castle. That is a good move. He can play e6, b7 castle, or he can play e6, a6, a6, bd7, and then try for a long castle. Not a good move. Challenging him to take the knight into d4 is bad, and queen into b2 will be also bad after knight d4 to b5. Ng4 also equally bad. After ng4, knight d5. The point is that bishop cannot be moved. So if the queen was on d8, I would have played here bishop b5, gaining a tempo. But there is no tempo. So here nd5 is crossing. Cannot allow a check on c7. Check b4. b4. Still he cannot take. After knight into pawn, then queen to d2, knight c6, exchange the queen and then c7 check. So only move queen d8, c7 check. Cannot stop. Check. With the idea, now everything paralyzed. Next the queen will enter to f3 or h5. Yes, sir. He pawn into queen g4, finish. He pawn into, then queen g4 check would finish. So he cannot take that. What? Punch after punch. King d7 is bad. After king d7, queen to g4 would be crossing. Queen g4 will be crossing. So king, check, check. And now the q g7. The rook is attacked and queen f7 is a mate. Oh, queen f7 is a checkmate. So a player cannot waste time on these things. This end of more variations. Parimarjan Negi. He was very good in opening preparation. Nice game. And so one more game of Parimarjan. So standard normal line. Line, it is blockade variation. Either you can blockade d2. Now queen to a4 is one of the fashionable line known as blockade. So for this, Vijay announced queen g4, queen g4, g6, and queen comes. Now with the idea h4, h5, white will have a clear opening edge. This will be bad. You can't keep on playing the rook b. Here even rook b1. Here even rook b1 is also good. Queen b1 also good move. Queen b1 good move. Rook b1 good move. So this okay. Very clear cut. On knight g6, h4 was coming. If black plays knight g6, then pawn h4 coming. And c4 is bad positionally because after bd2, the white center is intact. There is no more pressure on white center. So c4 is anti-positional. Uh, he can play knight g6, but that is also very possibly placed because knight f3 or knight g5 is coming. Now the knight is terribly placed. Tara's formula. There is unfortunately there is no other move, only move. Game is over in 2 3 moves. Somebody show me the finish. If you give time, black will survive. If you give time, he will survive. Yeah, I know Ramakrishna. C4 has been played, but I tell you that C4, the attacking prospect of white is reduced time being, but positionally it is bad. Yes, knight h7. Knight h7 is a finish. No, not giving time. Ramakrishna, the C4 has been played, I know, in French, but the pressure from the white center is gone. Now this rook attack and knight h6 is leading to checkmate. So only move. Don't win. Now g5 open, exchange up, so many weaknesses. Lost. Correct answer, knight. And if he does not play, knight f6 check is coming. Now I am not interested in the rook. The knight check will lead to mate. Next knight check and rook g1 will lead to definite mate. Knight check will come. Then queen to e3 will come. Finishing the game. So only move winning. Okay. Nilot Poldas. Very normal move. So white is clearly better. Black has moved the same piece twice. Earlier, bishop takes knight, it didn't appeal to him. After bishop into bishop, pawn into pawn, and d5 is coming. So he's forced to play in this mode. Now castle. Now he has a problem. If bishop e7, then d pawn will come into trouble. Bishop e7, then bishop into bishop, g7 pawn, d6 pawn. So he has to play this ugly move. Excellently played. Perfect timing. No freedom. Now, knight e5 is the best move. Because exchanging the knight, black will solve the problem. So this is best, but he played the not good move. Black is choked now. Always he has to watch a piece, knight or a bishop, will sitting there at b6. Now knight d4 is planned, and after pawn to e5, knight d5 is crossing. Okay, other move is also bad. White to play and win, not win. Take the initiative. White to play has a very strong initiative now. How should white play? How should white play now? Veerabhadra, rook a4. Yes, rook a4. The queen is running out of decent squares. Rook c4. Now the position is very bad, but at least queen e8 would have lingered the game. Queen e8 would have given a tough time fight. With the planning, to play bishop to d7 and trying to free the game. But play dubious. Mike, please answer how you can play now. White to play and win. No more initiative. It is finished. White to play and win. It's unbelievable that White is finishing the game now. Very good. Excellent move. Ramakrishna Birabhadra, you find the simple because after rook d1 queen exchange, black pieces are statue. The rook a8, bishop c8 doesn't move. Nothing is moving. Nothing is moving. Would you believe that? The simple rook d1, now queen is attacked, and if you now queen e8, he cannot develop. The bishop doesn't come. Everything is paralyzed. Even after queen into queen, also paralyzed. Now bf8 is losing. This is paralyzed. This is hopeless. Nothing is moving. And bf8 is also bad. Only move lost. Running out of squares. Okay. So great move. Rook d1. After queen e7, rd8. It is resigning. Position is absolutely hopeless. He loses a bishop minimum. It reminds me of Anand Ivanchuk game. Anand annotated that he said it was my birthday, so I gave myself a gift, a beautiful rook sacrifice, exchange sacrifice, voluntarily, better of defense. Very beautiful game. Okay, so next. Did I show h4? Now h5 is the main line. Now black plays h5 is the correct move, but h6, an idea that my opponent is played, but there is a lot of improvement. g4, provoking a weakness, f3, now e6. Now the old move here, the queen d3 check is threatened. So white used to play knight e2, knight e2, but then no, first check. White used to play check, king into, and now knight e2. But then black will play knight d7 and strike at center. Black is better, little better. I prefer to have black pieces here. Rook is coming to 8, then e5 cannot be stopped easily. Should have played this way. If he plays knight e2. But modern improvement. After this e6, check. Now f4. No need to. The knight belongs to f3. Attack. You cannot take knight into e5. But your queen will get he will get tempo pawn into. Position is overwhelming for white now. Cannot move. So only move. Knight has no good square. Only move. Check. Cannot move. Knight fork is there. Only move. Over. Crossing. Because king is king d8, knight fork and winning the queen. Or lose everything. So the whole line itself is bad. The h5 has to be played. H5 has to be played. H4, H5, going into the normal process. So it can play C4, E6, knight C3, and then he can prepare knight E2, knight G3. There are so many variations here that it is white is slightly better, no doubt about it. But this is the line, but not Scavenger. Scavenger, English attack. Now black has to worry. Black has to worry about the knight on F6. So he takes the knight, makes a room at D7. Black tries to solve the problem by taking. Now he has a square at D7. Already so much space. White's initiative on the king side, giving guaranteeing him an advantage. And when black castles long, all the time he has to watch the queen penetration. Now penetration is nothing. Queen S7 will not yield anything. So he tries to consolidate further. G6 is bad. Taken rook S7. So he comes here. Now G6 takes, takes. Bishop S3. Now the threat is knight to D5. And when the king moves, you can see, I'll always tell you, black has to watch the queen entry to a7. So, careless move. What about b4? Lost. The position is hopeless now. The knight moves, then queen check will come, and bishop into e6. You will lose material also. The rook is in trouble, the king in trouble, and this is hopeless. Rook d1, okay. So, terrible position. So, I would say the artificial move. Okay, there is one more game English opening, so I will discuss during that. English attack, not open, English attack. Accelerated dragon, BB3. Immediate castle will allow knight e4. Equality, force. That line is also not easy, but black will have relief. Knight into pull, knight and d5 will come. So, oh, battery, Papa. All right. So, this is a bad move. Now, in Samuel Rostowski versus Fischer, the bishop at c8, pawn at d7. He had played knight a5. When this is crossing e5 and crossed. That game, imagine the bishop at c here. Imagine the bishop at c8, knight at pawn at d7, pawn e5, then bishop f7 crossed. Even now it is crossing. h4. So players should not leave center. Okay, three. It is not worth wasting three moves. Knight c6, a5, and take the bishop. And what is going to do for h5? one-sided attack. That's why. Finish. This is all over. Now Queen G5 is a serious threat. If it takes, it is mate in 5. If bishop into king into bishop, queen check, then rook into pawn check, again check, rook h1 mate, leading to mate. Only move, resign. Now, now queen is a threat, and if it takes, check, 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 and rook h1 mate. So the whole point is that knight f5 move is a terrible move. The Resersky Fisher game, Resersky Fisher game, here he had played knight f5. This is too bad. And after e5, knight b3 will bad because pawn into pawn into. So you have to move the knight, but then bishop check. And after king into or whether rook it doesn't matter. Knight here. You cannot take with the pawn, and that is leading to mate. It will lead to mate. And if you take with the rook, then even the queen is trapped. Take with the rook, queen is trapped. But in this present game, he improved it by d6, bd7. Still, it is horrible. The whole concept, you cannot afford to lose time in opening, wasting time. Of course, this is a simultaneous game, but still the theme is important. So I selected it. And here, if you play normal moves like quick castling, then attack will come. Here, instead of e6, you could play normal move g6, bg7, then b3, f3, queen d2, g4, h4, easy attack. So he plays strange moves. Castle. Naturally stopping b5. So white has got a decisive advantage. Now queenside castling is ruled out, and it remains to be seen how the grandmaster will punish. Bad move, full of weaknesses. Now it looks that queen into b2, the city knight is attacked, so black will get time. Not really. Only move, only move. Again, only move. Now the position is hopeless. Of course, you can see bishop into rook is winning, but grandmaster don't play mechanical moves. When you find a good move, look for a better one. So he played this pawn simple. After the king remains fixed in the center. Okay, pawn on the seventh rank. No, coordination. There are too many threats. Not only the d6 pawn, the threat is bishop into c5 and queen d8. Then direct queen d6, bishop f4. He can do anything he wants. Isn't it? Okay, this is decent. Sharper move is queen d2. Okay, now black should at least complete development. More to the point will be to play bishop to g4, knight f6, and castle. Bad move. Position. The point is he has wasted how many moves and strengthen the center also. C5 open, plus minus. The C file, the center, and attacking potential for white. Before moving the knight, want to gain time. One of the white idea is to bring the knight C3, knight E2 for attack. But this gains time. He has to push the pawn. Time over. Now the point is, apart from the idea D4 and expansion, he is having NG5. No rook C2 possibility. Finish. Either he will get mated or lose heavy material. Pawn into queen G5 finish. Now E7 attack. G7 is doubly attack. Lost. Sudden death. Even a move like a long castle F3 G4 is also plus. Even a normal ordinary attacking plan is also plus for white because you can play. He doesn't want to do because B5, NB6, NC4. That is the plan. The plan of black is based on if you play F3 B5 and then he will play NB6 and then on B4 and knight C4 etc. So he goes for direct. B4 only bad. Knight E2 will come, then you lose time. If white has castle, that makes some sense. So B4 is a weak move. Good move. Now immediate threat is to win material. So only move. This is not good. And let me tell you, if you want to attack and take initiative, you must meet the conditions. There must be king must be weak or a target must be there. Then you have to have number of pieces, good center, nothing. These pieces are black pieces are not coordinated. There is nothing to boast about center. So it is a weakening move. This is not attack. This is weakening. The reason is if you ignore H4, H3 can come. You shouldn't not ignore. Now H4 knight attack. Then knight moves H3. He will have some. So stop that. Finishing the game brilliantly after rook into, bishop into many. The game is lost. The only move bishop to B side. I don't see. I don't see a good answer. The queen back rank check is coming and knight G5 coming. There are so many threats. So many threats. He has to save the bishop. Only move. It is better resign. Because bishop takes knight will lose the rook and don't know how he will continue to defend D7 and F7 square. Resign. So the result is that a player cannot waste time and play casually. You should respect the principles of the opponent. Few more games. I hope I will be able to finish. Very Savar, bad move. The point is now if you play directly French, you have got Taras or Vinawar. Here, Black thought he will trick into advanced variation of French. But one tempo down. The idea is okay if white is not playing energetically. Suppose white player plays casually, normal way, but now white played very aggressive. Mary Savag she's a lady from France and is men grandmaster, having GM title, men GM title. GM. The idea now, if you play C5, take and B4, the perfect refutation of this system. Suppose you play normal move like knight F3, the black has tricked you to advanced variation of French, which is not so dangerous for black. Now C5 has to come. Take B4, B knight. It's a terrific position. B2 will come. The center is very strong, and there is always a possibility of Greek sack. Greek sack. If you play if black plays short castle, then bishop h7 check will work. It will work. Knight check, the king in drag, queen check, and h4. Castle is just losing. So stops. Okay. So roundabout way we have entered one tempo of advanced variation. Now c4. White is looking to exploit the d6 weakness. On c4, if you take, knight will enter. If you don't take, c5 will. Choice is yours. Which is lesser evil? If you allow c5, technical winning position. And if you take pawn into pawn, the knight enters. Now white is ready. Rook d1 and nd6. After the move, rook d1, nd6, you cannot take g4. Further weakening. Now which round f5? Threat after threat. Lost. Now the knight has no good room because on knight h4, queen f6, and then take knight is gone. And if knight there is no the square, g5, queen resign. h7. The queen enters to h7 or give me the piece. Collapse in the opening stage. So end of more variations. However, this is the correct perfect antidote. You cannot transpose a6 is a perfect repetition. Now or never. If you play knight d7, I play b4. Okay. No, 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 no. In d7, b4, a5. Yeah, it is possible. It is anyway possible. Anyway, so this is just bad. e3. Here, e5 is more active. E5 is more active. Even though white is slightly better. e6. Now, many players try to imitate the path of Kasparov. Kasparov will play here b6, bb7, and d7, hedgehog type of formation. So here white can adapt to Kara's attack, which is good till today. It stands the test of time. G4, Kara's attack is good, but many players they follow Tal's path. F4, Queen F3, long castle. That is Tal attack. Idea Queen to F3 and long castle. Now, white can prepare for advance of G4. If you want to, you are very safe. You should play Rook G1, short castle G4, Rook G1. But in my opinion, there is no need to prepare. Though Rook G1 is a safe bet, Rook G1, waiting for him to castle, then G4. So why this is necessary? Because after knight into bishop into e5, the g4 pawn is attacked by knight and bishop. So rook g1 is a safer alternative, but please note the black queen is hanging. So you don't have to worry. So g4 is okay. G4. Okay. Here e5 is not the best way to attack pawn into, and if it takes it, you have queen. Or the g pawn is no problem. The g file is open. So you cannot take the bishop. Knight into pawn is ruled out, and d5 will cross. This is bad. So you no need to play rg1. d5. Now ignoring, you cannot take that knight. That's 7. e5 is not possible, and d5. With the idea, now rook s3 can be answered with knight f8. Now black is hoping that rook h3 he will ward off the attack with knight f8 and continue. But f5, a new threat has come. Bishop into pawn. Any which way. Cannot take the bishop. Pawn check, and queen h6 will finish. The simple threat is bishop f6. White is simply threatening bishop f6. Mate threat. Bishop into pawn. Reverse mate threat. Mate threat, and he answered with the reverse mate threat. Resign. Now e5 will be terrible move after f6. Pawn into pawn also is terrible move. Mate threat. So how we can stop mate? Only move is looking e5, but an f6 crossing. So tall attack is good, and it is very easy to plan. In terrace attack, there are a lot of variations. Here, the b3, or sometimes we play queen f3, f4, f4, and then queen f3, the b3, and now b3 with the idea f4, queen f3, and castle. This is simple. These are tall. One more game on tall attack. This time this is old game, so white has played rook g1. In this game, white played rook g1. The point, queen into pawn is coming bishop, so tempo finish. No need to take unnecessary. See, the initiative is more important. You don't have to worry. You don't need to be greedy rook into pawn or king b1. This is finished. Queen a2, queen a1 is only a spy 2 checks. So pawn, queen into pawn into knight is a mid threat. Fast finish. e7. e7 is too much. Now pawn e7 is coming. Non-stop. Last 4 moves, white is giving threat after threat. This is gone. That knight e5. Okay, other moves. See, he could have played here knight b6, but knight remains very poorly placed. After the move knight b6, he will not lose material. He will not lose material. He just move bishop. With the idea, knight into c8. There are so many things. And he played here knight e5, and the piece is gone. Now he has to lose the support of knight. Tall attack is very easy to plan and prepare. For Scandinavian setup, this is just you play b3, next move f4 and queen f3 and long castle. Now, instead of this rook g1, you can play direct g4. That is more sharper. Last game I saw. This is bad. Knight e1. This is people play so that the whole idea I will play a6 b5. Not at all good. Yes, sir. Knight f6 is ruled out. White is better. The point is grabbing the initiative. A player should get a feeling. Jula Sachs was a very strong attacking player. A feeling for initiative. The point is pawn e5. He will now bishop c7 and pawn e5. The bishop will be watching the b6, all the squares. So excellent move. Only move e5. Now you cannot take the b7. Bishop is hanging. Only move non-stop. Forced, and over. Unable to defend. And the finish was pretty. The finish was pretty. You place knight here, but then this bishop. The point is, now if you take the bishop, knight has to move. But where the knight will go? Finish, the game is over. Unable to support the bishop, and not cheap queen into pawn. Not cheap queen into c6, but queen check. He must lose a rook now. Black must lose a rook. Or bishop. Over. What if black plays e5 against tall attack? Okay. So this is the question. This is finished now, resign. So I will show you the tall attack. Where is that? So where is e5? There is after e5. The structure is here. Scavenging, I will tell you tall attack. F4, queen f3. When you play e5, that is not tall attack. In this case, white will be better off. If you play e5, okay. Now the standard move is nb3. Now you try to castle. Now I will play b8. Now you try to castle. You can start attack itself. G4, G4, G5. 6 C5, you are avoiding the talent. But this is interesting. It is okay. E5 is active move. So maybe I will play knight B3 only. And after B7, B2, and G4 is possible. Okay. There are a different theory comes. There is no talent. It is trying to stop the talent. So thank you very much, friends, being with me. I will be back tomorrow morning 9:30 for the next session. And tomorrow afternoon also I will be there for the evening session. How we know if the player will play e6 or e5 beforehand? No, whether plays e6 or e5, white is anyway better. If you play e6, white has a pleasant choice: Keras attack or Tal attack. And if you play e5, anyway white position is little better. But e5 is more desirable. I would say e5 is a more active move than playing e6. Okay, okay. See you tomorrow morning 9:30. Take care and bye.